Alex. He's a growth engineer here at SingleStore, and a lot of you might be, aware of him. He's a very regular speaker here at our webinar and also a Stanford alumnus. So, if you want any guidance, you can hit him up. And if you have any feedback regarding the sessions, any questions, you can hit me up on LinkedIn. You can just, type out my name, and I think it shouldn't be that hard to find. Just one note that you are currently in a listen only mode, and you'll be able to address any questions which we will make sure to answer live during the session using the Zoom Q&A button, which is present at the bottom of your console. And yeah. Uh, if there's anything else, we also have a Discord channel. I'll be putting in the link for that as well. And that also, I see someone has raised their hand. We'll just be taking all the questions using the Zoom Q&A button and also the Discord channel. I'll be providing the link. Basically, it's an invitation for you all to join, and it's you can consider it like to have an ongoing discussion after the session as well. If you have anything, just let us know. And I'll be putting the links to everything, the resources, the free trial page, and Alex's notebook, the code resources, everything in the chat as well. And so that you can, make use of your time and follow along in real time. So thanks everyone for joining. And Alex, please take it away. And if there's anything else, feel free to put everything in the Q&A section. So yeah, thank you so much.
Great. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Yukthi, for the intro. Like Yukthi said, pretty exciting topic lined up today. Something that I've been really excited to put together internally here at SingleStore, and something that I know will really improve the lives of our developers all around the world. And that's using Drizzle ORM to interface with and interact with SingleStore in any TypeScript apps that you are building. So let's back up a little bit here and just think a little bit, from the perspective of a full stack developer, of an AI developer, right? Why might you be interested in building these sorts of full stack apps in the first place, right? And so there's this concept in AI and generative AI called retrieval augmented generation. And that's what allows you to contextualize your AI applications, right? Your LLM applications as as your LLMs produce responses, and they need to, be kept informed of, internal private company information, external web search results. They need to use that information in order to essentially give you accurate results, right? To give you results that aren't so-called hallucinated, right? That will kind of be confabulations or lies that just mislead you, right? And this new RAG paradigm comes in amidst this AI stack architecture that we're really seeing come into use among developers, where you have a UI on top of API endpoints, and then obviously a contextual data store. And we'll see all of these concepts in use today in our demo. It's going to be a very hands-on demo. And so actually, just a quick aside here, I would highly recommend everyone to use either the Zoom Q&A or the Discord that Yukthi has just sent into the chat. Send in some questions and messages our way, and I will do my best to get to as many of the questions as possible. But going back to this AI stack architecture, right? You might be wondering, why are we talking about AI? The broader scope of this webinar is really about full stack applications, but AI is just a useful sort of refining perspective for us to take, a kind of a context that we're all familiar with, that we've probably built side projects in, and so that's the sort of scope that we're going to take. But more generically, just for any full stack application, you're going to have a UI, API endpoints, and then your contextual data store, right? And so your UI here, you can use your choice of front end framework, but today we're going to be using React. And your UI is the interface through which your user interacts with your application, whether through conversational UIs, plugins, components, widgets, audio, video interfaces. They interact with your application and send data to your application. And that data gets transferred to your application through a variety of different ways. Traditionally, before the whole Gen AI wave, we saw, just standard, you know, middleware API connectors, right? That would shuttle the data back and forth between, our server and the user's application. Um, Now, kind of more modern techniques involve the use of, you know, LLMs to read and write to our contextual data stores, and then even using agents to perform multi-step tasks, to perform research, and to fan out tasks to sub agents before showing data to the user or writing to the backend database, right? All of these connectors and endpoints all feed into one contextual data store, right? And so, you know, maybe if you're just getting your application off the ground, that's something that's just an in-memory database that's, maybe just a locally running instance of a database that you are just using for testing purposes, right? But all sort of production level applications at some point need a persistence layer, or the so-called contextual data store. And this data store is what allows your app to provide uh, save state in between user sessions, right? User journeys. So storing SQL structured data, storing unstructured, PDFs, images, documents, right? Traditionally, we see that. Sorry, we're just going to skip ahead a little bit. Traditionally, we see that um, you know databases, database systems really require a number of different specialized databases to store, all these different types of data. Using Postgres for your structured data, using, Mongo or a vector database for your unstructured data. SingleStore really brings all of this into one unified data store, and that simplifies, not just your, your life as a developer, right? Allowing you to skip over, you know, fragile ETLs and, reduce latency between hops between your internal systems, but really just allowing for, if you're building a developer platform, your users can just talk to one database, right? It simplifies your costs and it simplifies your product. Now let's move on from, this kind of higher level motivation for why we might want to use a database like SingleStore to thinking about what is an ORM, right? Hopefully everyone is at least tangentially familiar with what an ORM is. Our webinar is called "Building a Full Stack App with Drizzle ORM and React." But just to make sure everyone is on the same page, ORM stands for Object Relation Management, and an ORM is essentially a software package, right? And today we're going to be using an ORM for TypeScript, but it's a software package that allows you to interface with your database with object-based syntax instead of relational syntax. So what is relational syntax? Another word for relational syntax is essentially SQL, right? For anyone that's used, a MySQL database or a Postgres database, you're familiar with SQL. We're very familiar with SQL here at SingleStore. We use SQL a lot. But SQL for a full stack application can often get a little unwieldy, right? You're writing raw text queries and running them on your database, right, in your backend. And as you're writing these queries, you're writing these read and write operations against your database. You're not really getting any sort of type checking or linting, right, as you write it until you actually run the application and you either confirm that the logic works or you get an error, right? And that's just not a really great experience. And ORM allows you to interact with your database with an object-based syntax instead, right? And so for anyone that's, interacted with, say, for example, JSON objects in just vanilla JavaScript, right? JSON objects allow you to, you can insert into them, you can read from them, you can, update existing properties, you can delete properties. They're great, but the problem with a JSON object is in general, it usually only exists in memory, and it's not a value that's persisted, right? And so an ORM really allows us to marry these two concepts of, a persistence layer, a contextual data store, right? And that clean syntax that allows for type checking and linting of JSON and JavaScript. It marries that together so that we get, to uh, get type checking and linting as we write our queries. So, for example, if we're selecting a certain row from a table, as we write that query in the ORM syntax, right? If we misspell, table name, or if we misspell a column name where the column doesn't exist, or the type of the data that we're inserting into the column doesn't match the predefined type of the column data, we can see all of this without having to build and then run our application, or build, run it, and then open it up and then get an error pop up, right? So it really just shortens our development process by that much. So just a bit more about SingleStore. What is SingleStore? SingleStore is a database to transact, analyze, and contextualize in real time. At a high level, that means that we support both row-based and columnar storage types, as well as vector storage types. So we talked a little bit about this before, but really what this means is that SingleStore can throw, or you can throw as many writes as you would like at SingleStore at streaming speeds. So, we have customers that support millions of writes per second, millions of transactions per second. And as those writes come in, you can run analytical queries on SingleStore in millisecond latency. So anywhere from 50 to 100 milliseconds in latency. And all of this is combined with a vector, first-class vector support since 2017, which allows for semantic search, keyword search. If you're curious about some of these buzzwords, we have a bunch of webinars about semantic search, embeddings, building AI applications with SingleStore. I would highly recommend checking out our webinar library. Great. Yeah, just some quick statistics from some of our customers. And yeah, let's just go ahead and jump right into the code. Today's demo is going to be very hands-on. I believe Yukthi has sent out a GitHub repo to the chat. So I would highly recommend that everyone go to that repo, clone it, and follow along. But if you are not able to, do not worry. We are going to be recording this session, and you will be able to follow at your own pace. Great. Let's go ahead and get started here. Great. So what I want everyone to do first of all is actually I want everyone to go to singlestore.com, and I'm going to show everyone what this looks like. So if you go to singlestore.com/cloud trial. Wait, UT, is that the URL we're still trying to use, or is it a different one?
Actually, the thing is that it redirects us to this long URL. It initially goes to like this intent, something like that, intent
Yeah.
cloud users. So yeah, and then it redirects to this. So in the audience, if you guys are able to access it, great. If you can't, let me know, and I'll actually communicate that to the team as well. So if you guys are having any, I see that someone has an issue with the GitHub repo. I'll actually resend it. In case you have joined the webinar late, you won't be able to see the chat. So stay tuned. I'll send all the resources in the chat again. This link seems to work, right, Alex?
Yeah, so I mean, this is just the SingleStore main page, but so for everyone following along at home, I'm just on the SingleStore main page, and the reason we're here is we'd like to create a SingleStore instance, right, as a backend for our application. So from the SingleStore main page, click Start Free, and then go ahead and sign up with your existing account, or create your first account. I'm going to sign in with my account here. Oh, single sign-on. But once you're in, what we're going to do is we are going to create a free instance, a free shared tier instance of SingleStore, and that's going to be our backend for our application. So I want to just show everyone here. So from home, you're going to want to click um, the yes, from home, you're going to want to click a create new, and then you're going to click deployment. Um, in my case, I do have the maximum number of deployments, but you're going to create new deployment, and then you're going to select the AWS free shared tier instance, right? And that's going to connect, that's going to create a workspace with some compute associated with it, along with a database, right? This is going to take a couple of minutes to spin up, so don't worry. We will be coming back to this in just a second, but once you have your workspace created, you will get your connection details from this connect and then your app. And what you want to, what you're going to want to save here is this connection string. Great. So now that we have a free shared tier instance along with our connection string, I want to show everyone just really quickly what we are going to be building today. It's a pretty simple application, but it will be hopefully fairly sort of moldable into whatever application that you're trying to build. But essentially, what we have here is a really simple application where you can create new users with a specific name. Oh, we're going to run this just locally because the hosted version is not behaving. Okay, so you can essentially create, oh, I'm going to make sure this is sharing. So essentially you can create users in a table with, a specific name, an age, an email, and then obviously you can delete that row. And we can also edit users. So, maybe we want to we want to change the name, and maybe I'm going to impersonate Pedro here. But this performs all of the kind of basic operations that we expect of a database. Obviously, SingleStore is much more powerful than this, but this is sort of just to get us off the ground and up and running with SingleStore and Drizzle ORM. It allows us to create new rows, read rows, obviously, read from the database, update existing rows, and then delete rows, right? So now that we see kind of the basics of the app, let's take a look at how this actually was built. And I noticed that we're getting some questions about where to create the new instance. So not to worry, so under SingleStore, under your home page after you've logged in, you'll want to go to deployments and then click create new and then click deployment here. So, and then you're going to create, a free trial, free shared tier workspace, which will, as you click through the demo or the wizard, it'll let what the associated compute is. You can define the database name, and then what you want to do then is get the connection string from your app, right? Sorry, I'm going a little bit fast here, but once you click connect next to workspaces and then click your app, you're going to want to click Node.js plus Drizzle to get the connection string and copy that. Yeah, great. So once you have the connection string, you can also configure it with this drizzle.config file, but we'll see what that means. We'll see what all that means in just a second. Now I'm going to start sharing my code view just to show everyone at a high level how this all comes together. Great. So for anyone familiar at a high level with React, this sort of app layout should be familiar, but for those that aren't, not to worry. Um, at a high level, the way that we have the app set up is we have a front end and a back end, right? So our front end is the user management page with the data grid and the ability to create new rows, update existing rows, and then delete rows, right? That's all of our front end. And then our back end is essentially just a really thin layer to allow or that defines some functions that Drizzle actually implements to allow us to perform those create, read, update, and delete operations on our database. So just starting from the front end, because I think that's kind of the easiest way to understand the way our app works. We have a main page, right? That uses or that exports this function home, right? And the way that at a high level React works is we have, um, you know, handler functions that we call whenever we perform an update, right? So, we have, let's see, in our front end code, we have, you know, our headers, and then we create this class called a data grid, which uses these handlers, update, delete, create row. And we will be looking at what the data grid does in just a second. But at a high level, what we have is a use effect that fetches the users, right? And use effect basically runs anytime that an update or refresh happens. Roughly speaking, a refresh happens in the front end, and that fetches our users for us. And then the update, delete, and create row handlers, those um, uh, use the associated backend API endpoints to delete, update, and insert new rows into our database. So let's take a look at the data grid and see how we actually display the users here. So the data grid takes as an arguments our handler functions, and then also the data that we grab from the front end. And the data, just to remind everyone, it's a JSON object that is returned from our backend. And we'll see what that looks like in just a second. But the data grid essentially just creates columns and rows to.
Alex, can I interject? Just
Yeah.
actually, I feel like some people have questions regarding if they have created an account on SingleStore. Like, if you can just go a little slow and walk them through regarding like what to do. They say that this is a question from Prasant. Thanks for the question, Prasant. So they say
Mm-hmm.
that they have created an account and they have doubts regarding what to do next. Like in the workspace, they claim that they got the connection string. Is that it? So what to do in the user management section? And if you can just show the demo of your React app using, I feel like that's what you're doing, but if you can just maybe,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Prasant, very good question. We will be getting into using the connections. So if you've gotten the connection string from your deployment, you're golden. You're all set. We are just kind of going over at a high level what the front end code looks like and how it works to motivate the back end code that actually implements Drizzle and SingleStore together. And then that's where we'll actually use the connection string. So just hold on tight. We will get to it very quickly. Um, let's see. Was it
Yeah, actually,
Yukthi? Did
I
you
have one
say?
more question. This question is they say that where to create the new instance under deployments.
Yeah, so the way that you create a new instance under deployments is just under, and apologies again if I am going too fast, um, is under your homepage inside of Portal after you've logged in. You want to go to deployments and then create new, and then I I actually have it right out here, but you will click um this deployment selector here. And that will lead you through how to create a free share tier deployment. Um, I will actually, after this, I'll probably free up some of my databases to show it just step by step for the next demo. But that's how you create a new deployment. And then once you create a new deployment, um, you will be able to get your connection string. And I see that we just got a question, is the deployment free in SingleStore? Do we have to pay anything? It is free. So for the free shared tier, it is completely free to use, completely free forever, actually. And if you need any additional, uh, database capabilities like storage or compute on top of the free tier limits, then that will cost money, obviously. But the free share tier is free, and it's from what I found from my own personal projects, it is plenty for pretty much every hobby project. Great. Anyway, going back into the code here. So we were on the data grid components. And just to remind everyone, this is code that we're all sharing on GitHub. So if you would like to follow along, the GitHub repo is in the chat. In the data grid component, um, we we take in these handlers, right? That use this React function called use state, and these actually allow us to both. These actually allow using state actually allows us to edit the cells and edit our local response JSON, which we then actually update in the backend. And so we'll see that in just a second. But this handle double click function lets us double click into cells to edit them. The handle update function allows us, or actually detects when we update a function or update a cell, sorry. And then when we update that cell, we set the local data, right? We set the existing JSON, and then we actually see, I believe yes. Yes, we set the local data, and then that actually allows us um, to queue up that change for posting to the backend database. So I'm just going to now look at the backend because I know that just looking at the front end so far is probably a little confusing. Um, The backend is pretty simple, actually. And this is really where Drizzle comes in and makes it that much simpler for us to integrate SingleStore into our existing full stack applications. Um, what you're going to want to what you're going to notice here at the very top is we import Drizzle, right? We import the Drizzle package, and then we are using Drizzle to first we get the connection, right? The MySQL connection, and then we create a new Drizzle ORM instance with Drizzle connection, right? And that allows us to actually connect to the database. So I'm going to show everyone how that database connection works really quickly. Actually, I'm going to. I realize now that I should have done this before, but we're going to do this better late than never. We're going to actually show how to run the entire application from just having cloned it to actually having it up and running on your local instance. But once you have the application, once you have the repo cloned, you're going to want to npm install to just install the packages. right? And then you're going to want to make sure to create a .env file in your root directory with your database username, host, port, and the database name. This DB database environment URL is a little confusingly named, but essentially that's going to be from your apps connection. And I'm just gonna go back here. From your app connection, that's going to be these details here. That's going to be your host, username, password, your port, and then also your database name is going to be just the name of the database that you have connected to your workspace. So in my case, right, just to show a full worked example, um, I have this host, this username, predefined password, which it will show you the first time you open this connect tab, and then the name of the database is Drizzle, right? So what I might put in is, I would put in Drizzle for the database, and then I would put in the host URL for the database host, and then the password here. And once you have the env file set up and you've installed your npm packages, you're going to actually perform this process called migration, which basically links the schema that we define for Drizzle to map to our SingleStore table. So what is the schema? What is this table that we're talking about? Drizzle, the reason that Drizzle is able to give us type checking and give us linting is it predefines a schema under this DB folder, which it then references later to understand that the data you're inserting into a specific column matches that column type, and so on and so forth. So this schema that we define here, pretty simple. It is just a table that we create in SingleStore for an ID, right? Just a unique ID for each user, a name, an age, and then an email, right? And so once we have this schema defined, and this schema comes predefined in the repo, we're going to run this command npm run migrate, right? And so a number of things will happen here. Drizzle will read the schema that you define in the database file, and it will actually go into your SingleStore instance and create that table. So once you do that, what I want everyone to do is to actually confirm that that happens, right? By going back to their SingleStore portal. And then what you're going to want to do is, see, see if we can do this here. So inside of your workspaces, you're going to want to go to the database that you have connected to in your env file that you've defined in your env file. Click view, and then you're going to want to look at the table that should now be created, right? And if you see the table, right, and the columns are created correctly, then congratulations, you've connected Drizzle to your SingleStore instance, and we should be able to kind of move on. But please do let me know in the Q&A um, if you're not able to get that working. Great. So I'm just going to go back to our code here. So we have the schema defined, we run the migration, and then we're going to run npm run dev, which actually will run the app locally for us, right? And so I believe for everyone that's starting up the application on their own at home, you will see you will see an empty table, and that's because the table does not yet have any data. And so what you're going to want to do is just to test that it works, just add some new users, and it'll automatically define, a unique ID for you, and then just some dummy data will be populated for you. And then if you can add that and it displays in the UI, then you're all set. Okay, great. So now let's go back to our backend API routes and just try to understand how SingleStore or how Drizzle talks to our front end via these backend API routes. So there's a few main functions here. We have the get function, the post function, the put function, and then the delete function. Get essentially returns the entire database to our friend. And so that just gives us uh, the uh, the users from our users table in JSON format. And that's what allows our data grid to hydrate its data. So whenever it wants to grab new state from the backend, uses this get function. The post function allows us to actually write new users to the table. So we have pretty simple logic here. It's just a try and catch block that creates a new user, right? Um, Creates inserts that user into the table, and you can see this is how Drizzle ORM syntax allows us to easily insert the table or the user into the user's table. And then we just return that newly created user to just confirm that it's been created, right? The put function allows us to actually update an existing user. So that's that's how we enable the double click functionality into a cell to update a value. We grab that updated user, um, or we grab the updated user based on the ID. We perform the changes to the data, and then that's how our put function works. And then finally, the delete function just uses Drizzle's db.delete function, also based on, again, the user ID, right? So that was kind of whirlwind, I'm sure. I know we've got a lot of comments. Um, let's see. We've got a few comments. I can't see my database. How to create the table on database. So, um, just to make sure, uh, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, do be sure that you run this npm run migrate. So the order, and you can also find this in the GitHub repo, and I highly recommend checking out the GitHub repo. But let's see, S2 one. So you're going to want to run npm install and then npm run migrate. And then since we're just running this locally, you're going to run npm run dev. And for this create a .m file with your database credentials, I would recommend just following the format that I show inside of um, this webinar. So individually defining the database user, password, host, port, and then the name. So just to remind everyone what that looks like, that's going to be in an N file, right? And you're going to define all of that in your .n file. And you get all of that from SingleStore portal. And once you have all of that, after running npm run, npm install, If you run npm run migrate and you get this success message, no schema changes, nothing to migrate, then your Drizzle ORM is successfully connected to your SingleStore instance, and you should be able to, after running this migration file for the first time, or this migration for the first time, you should see the table in your SingleStore portal, just like I showed everyone earlier. And then what you want to do is as you add new users and update the existing users, you want to confirm that those changes are actually happening in your portal, right? So just to show everyone again, see. So just to show everyone again, I have this users table, right? And I've been, let's say that I want to, let's say that I'm going to make some changes to my table, right? Let's say, for example, I want to, just have one row, and I'm going to say that I am 23 instead of 22. Right. It's great. We see this change updated in the front end, but just to confirm that this connection is working on the back end, I'm going to go over to my my table and sample the data, right? So just to remind everyone how we actually got there, from deployments, I click the table that that Drizzle is connected to, click view, then I actually I click the database that Drizzle is connected to, then I click the table, right? And then inside of the portal view, you can sample the data, and you can see that the data is correctly updated here on the back end. And so, and if I add new users and I refresh here, then we see that the new users are also updated properly. So let's see. It looks like most of the questions that we have are just about getting that connection running. So hopefully that helps everyone with that. Um, let's see. It doesn't look like we have any other questions, like other than just about, getting the connection working. Um, oh, Rugella asks, what do we have in the .n file? So just to show everyone again, in the .n file, we have, at least on this example, we have a database username, the host, the port, the password, and then the um, the database that's actually connected to our workspace. So in my case, that database is called Drizzle. Great. Just gonna pause sharing for now. Yukti, do you have any questions in the Discord?
I mean, we actually have issues with Discord. That's what I think currently because people join, but they don't ask questions. I feel like there's a what should I say, navigation issue regarding that. So, but we do have a lot of questions in the Q&A console, so you can check that out. And folks, if like I have put the link to Discord in chat, so if you have any burning questions that can be addressed after the webinar, or like if they need more attention, feel free to join the Discord channel, and we can all stay connected there. That's the thing. So me and Alex Akmal from the team and other folks are, and even Pawan, like so he's a developer evangelist here. So if there's any questions that you feel like are of expertise of various other people, that's actually a better platform to address it. So okay, yeah, we have a question. We have a comment from Sridhar. They say that they're not able to log into Discord. So yeah. Oh, it says that invalid for some reason. Actually, you know what? I'll send it again and let's see. Alex, you feel free to pick out any questions. Meanwhile, I can just configure the link again and just let you know.
Yeah, sorry, just one quick clarification again. The this is our bad, but the repo shows create a .env file with your database credentials and then this DB URL environment variable. That is actually incorrect. The way that you're going to want to uh, provide the credentials for your environment variable or your environment file is actually like so. Um, let's see, I'm going to share the cursor again. So in this .env.example file, there's 5 environment variables that we define here: the username, the host, port, password, and then the database. Those are the details that we need to individually actually define. What you could also do, um, if you wanted to kind of go off the beaten path a little bit, is um, copy and paste the define config from Portal for connecting to a Drizzle application, and then just pasting that into Drizzle config.ts. So that's in your source here, Drizzle config.ts. You can just copy and paste that in here. So just to show everyone again where we get those details from, that's going to be under this here. So under your workspace, you're going to click connect your app, Node.js plus Drizzle. And then under this Drizzle configuration section, you can see all the details here. I would not copy and paste this one-to-one because you actually do need an SSL certificate, and that's in the code that we provide, though it's not in this sample code here. So yes. Let's see. Peng asks, what does .ts file mean? I know .js. .ts is TypeScript. .js is for JavaScript. TypeScript is the language that we're working with today. Sridhar asks, can you show the demo? Can I add one more user? Can you add one more user or do a CRUD? Sure, I can show everyone here. So this is the demo. Once again, you can click add new user to add new users. That creates, you double click into cells to update their values. So you can update the value, and then you can obviously also delete. So you can delete these values, and all of that should be populated inside of your SingleStore database as well, as I showed everyone earlier. Rapaka asks, does SingleStore work as a backend server for an app? So yes, this is exactly that. This is showing SingleStore working as a backend for your application. All right, let's see. Doesn't look like we have more questions quite yet. Sridhar asks, if I change something in the back end, does it reflect in the front end? So yes, it does. Although to my knowledge, actually, let's see. I can just show everyone that working, I guess, here. Let's see here. So I'm just going to show everyone here how that actually works, what Sridhar is actually referring to. Um, so if you if you actually if you update the backend um, in if you update the backend in our SQL editor, um, you can actually you should be able to see a change in the front end as well. So let's just say, for example, we wanted to drop the row with me in it, you know, drop the so let's see, delete from user table where ID. Let's see if this. Oh, I'm going to fix the syntax really quickly. So there's a there's a bit of a SQL syntax error here, but yes, Sridhar, in principle, you are able to delete or update the backend data from the portal, and then that should show in your front end as well. I'm going to actually see. Yeah, I will get back. Nope, Sridhar, I will get back to you on that. Okay. Um, let's see. It doesn't look like we have any other questions here. Um, Yukti, is it a good time to wrap it up?
Yeah, actually, we can. I mean, there we have some questions though, like for you, which I mean, if you can address them, great. If you can't, you if you can just post them on our Discord channel, we can have that discussion after the webinar. Why we are telling you to join the Discord, because that promotes the questions to be taken up, like in a much more active way. Like we won't be able to obviously see these questions once this webinar has ended. So that's the thing. So if there's any other questions like which you feel like because we're almost at time, you can post them on Discord and Alex will take care of them. Alex, we have one question from Brian. Like if you can just address it.
Yeah, and also I just wanted to thank Peng for the syntax assist there. I did have an extra equal sign. So after running to delete the row with my ID from the table, Sridhar, you can see if you update it in the back end, it'll also update in the front end. So great. Let's see. Brian Robinson says, is Drizzle being used as a way to add, change, remove data to be used within the contextual data store that will be used in improving LM analysis on specific company data? So really good question. So the reason that we brought in the discussion about RAG and LLM analysis earlier is really just as a just because it's an area of development that many people are familiar with now. A lot of people are building full stack AI applications with frameworks like Vercel AI SDK. They're building full stack AI applications with their specialty vector databases like Pinecone. And we think that there's a much better way to build these applications all under one contextual data store that supports both structured and unstructured data, and that's SingleStore. And so, we've released a new integration between SingleStore and Drizzle that allows you to, build full stack applications with SingleStore and Drizzle. And, with these skills, you can also build full stack AI applications, right? And, we have a whole host of webinars about, building out AI applications using SingleStore. So that is a very long way of saying not specifically, Drizzle is not specifically for just AI, but you can use it to build full stack AI applications as well. Okay, Sridhar says the records can be duplicate value. So good observation. On the back end, we do create a unique ID for all the records. So there should not be a duplicate value issue. And then if you do run into that, Drizzle actually enforces that the ID that you insert it into the table is a unique ID. And so that's actually one of the nice parts of using Drizzle, that it actually enforces that for you. Great. Great, fantastic. I think we are just at about time. Looks like we've answered pretty much all the questions. Um, if anyone does have more questions, please do drop them in the Discord. That is a great place for us to continue the conversation. Um, and then, other than that, happy to also just answer any other questions about getting the app set up, setting up your database and all of that good stuff in Discord. So thanks everyone for joining. Yukthi, would you like to wrap us up?
Yeah, I mean, some people are saying that it still shows invalid for them. Sometimes no, it's a very common issue with Discord. Like the links. I mean, I used to have this problem when I used to use Discord for like personal use. So, it keeps on happening. So it's a very common glitch with the invites. What I'll do is include one final link in the follow-up emails. Like this session is recorded, so everyone that was not able to follow up like during the session. So it's totally fine. We'll send out a recording with all the resources, and we'll also make sure to include the link for the Discord channel in the follow-up email. And if you're still not able to join it, like you can hit me up on LinkedIn, email me, because that follow-up email, it will have my email at the bottom. So just email me, and like if you're interested, actually really interested in chatting about something that's like that you're stuck on. So yeah, we can address that there. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining, and we have amazing sessions that are coming up, so stay tuned for that. And have a great rest of the day. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.